Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, fine people. And yes, welcome. Welcome to the Jerick Show. And Hernan, Popper, good morning to you. You have got the time right. So buckle your belts and get ready for the show.
Welcome to the Jerick Show, featuring your hosts, Javvad Malik and Eric Krohn. Timely topics, poorly presented.
So we are live again to the Jerick Show, the only show you need to get your weekly fix of news, views, opinions, and all things good. This week we are covering stories such as, how much does a cheap security professional actually cost you? Something about Microsoft, something about North Korea, and something about Disney. Anyway, speaking of cheap resources, let's welcome Eric Krohn to the stage. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Let me tell you something. I don't know if this is happening on the other side. And first of all, let me say hi to Hernan. I've done some webinars and stuff with him. Awesome dude. But whenever you go live, all of a sudden you get all like your feed to me gets all crappy, dude. And you get all digitized and you're looking Max Headroom-ish. Do you remember Max Headroom back in the day, right? Do you remember that? Are you
Barely.
that old?
I must have seen reruns. I'm not that old.
Okay. Yeah.
Not
Yeah. I don't know what's up with that. But anyways, here we are. I'm happy to be here. Do you realize, Javvad, it is November? Like, what happened to this
okay.
year?
Oh, right. Yeah, time just flies, doesn't it? We
Yeah, I kind of looked up and I was like, oh crap, it's November.
Yep.
So here we are.
But at least the good thing is for you, at least 24 is nearly coming to an end, which you want to close a chapter on very quickly, don't you?
Dude. Yeah, I'm done. He's too young. He is too young. He is definitely too young. Yeah. Yeah, don't let him fool you with his youthful face and gray beard and hair on the front of his head. He's not that young. But yeah, no, 2024 can, I'm sorry, YouTube, and well, this isn't a bad word, but I'm going to say it. 2024 can go to hell. I'm kind of done with 2024, looking forward to 2025. It's going to be a better year because, damn it, last year sucked.
In the wise words of Homer Simpson, it's the worst year of your life so far.
Right.
It's not going to get much.
Dude, yeah. I thought the years were bad during the 3 Achilles surgeries I had and the car accident that jacked up my back. And I thought those years sucked, but no. 2024 was like, hold my beer. So here we are. Did you know, here's one for you, Javvad. There's another potential hurricane floating around out there with like a 70% chance of making at least tropical storm now.
No, I didn't.
Another one. Because that's what we need. That's what we need over here is another one of those.
Serves you right for living in Florida. And welcome.
At least I don't.
For those of you just joining, welcome to the Old Man's Shouting at the Clouds episode.
Yeah. My knee was aching this morning and it's going to rain. You give me a hard time about living here in Florida, but at least I don't live in Britain where they want to pay you like $2 an hour to do work, right? Do you see what I did there?
Nice segue.
You see?
Yes.
You see what I did there?
I know. So
it's like I was paying attention.
Wants to hire top-end talent with bottom-end pay packets. So in a recent job advert, the GCHQ saw a lead cyber security expert advertised annual pay of 41, just shy of £42,000 a year, which is $54,000. And is also looking for a senior cybersecurity expert up to 50K in pounds. And it's based in the NCSE, so it's based in the capital, which you get an additional London weighting or London allowance of $6,000. I mean, when I started off back in the day, and just to show I'm not that young, London weighting was about $3,500. So it's clearly gone up.
When you started off, they were still like trading beaver pelts and stuff for
Yeah.
pay.
No, you got 5 extra shillings if you worked on the weekend and like on call.
Dude, you know what's interesting? And maybe you can explain this too. Maybe I misread this. Maybe I'm just old. I don't know. But a lead expert at 54 and a senior at 66. Now, wouldn't lead assume that they're like a higher level than other? Because I know you're a lead advocate and you seem to think that you're in charge with that name,
Of you,
with that title
yeah,
over the rest of
I
us at work here. But
yeah.
isn't that kind of backwards, or is it just me?
I no, it does sound a bit backwards. I don't know how they do it. Um,
Can you imagine though? I mean, this kind of stuff is why these positions don't get filled, and we've talked before about the whole ISC2 type thing where they roll out and they're like 7.5 trillion open jobs
yeah,
in IT. Join IT, it's going to be the greatest thing ever. But this is why there's open jobs, because I can almost feel like they don't actually expect these to be filled. What do you think? Like it almost seems like they're just
no,
putting it out there to say we're hiring, but what senior person, other than maybe already retired, looking for a second job that they can kind of like phone it in at, who's going to
yeah,
work for 54K with the amount of stress that we deal with in
no,
this industry? It's
no. It's it's ridiculous. I think this is the challenge government's always had, and I think unless you want to take the job to serve your country, you're not
yeah,
going to take the job for any other reason, really. Um, it's and the skills here they want software development, systems
yeah.
configuration testing, software, hardware security analysis. You will engage with partners, user groups to gain insights and collaboration. They expect you to show skills in hardware and software systems, system and device security architecture, be familiar with commodity IT platform, the networking, and possess some cryptography skills. And then they
I
compare it like with
Well, I got
other
it, Javad.
private. Yep.
I got it. The reason it pays so low is because it doesn't say AI expert. And anyone that's not
Yes.
an expert in AI these days, we're kind of useless, worthless, right?
And they
Isn't that?
haven't put, at least here in the story, they haven't put whether CISSP is needed.
But of course it is. Of course it is.
So if you join Unilever cybersecurity graduate scheme, training scheme, so no commercial, so you get a base pay of about 35,000, gym membership and a pension. For more senior roles like the IT manager role at BAE, the upper end is about 75K. So that's why, unless you want to really serve at GCHQ, you want to do something with the country, it's a losing battle. But who knows?
I don't know if you know this, Javad, but I once, Charleston, South Carolina. I almost ended up there. Um, I don't know if you
I
know
did.
this or not, Javad, but I used to work for the U.S. Army.
Oh,
And I know you
really?
love when I tell these stories, right? No, but it was kind of the same thing there. I mean, we were contractors, and it's kind of funny because as contractors, we made more than like actual government people, but still, we didn't make hardly anything compared to the public or the private sector out there. Who made the money was the contract company. So we'd
Yeah.
make like 70K and they'd bill us out for like 280. And it was kind of crazy like that. But indeed, it's always kind of been on the low end in the public sector. But if we want to protect the things that are important, like, I don't know, our governments, maybe we need to become competitive.
Hmm.
That's my
Thanks for listening
brilliant
to the show,
thought for
guys.
the day.
I want to thank the guy that invented the number 0. Thanks for nothing.
Oh God, no, come on. Why would you put that up there, Javad?
It just popped up there, and I thought it's James, and I whitelisted him a while ago, and
Do you just jump on
sorry,
anything that pops
allow
up there?
listed him. Yeah. Okay. Hackers exploit Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams of
Yeah.
all things.
Yeah.
Wow.
Assuming it's working.
Yeah,
Um,
assuming you can get it to work.
no, this was kind of interesting that he did a face palm. I love it. No, this was interesting, and I actually saw this and I thought about it, and I think it's kind of indicative of some of the creativity we're seeing out there, right? So like in this case, what's happening is they're reaching out to people through Teams with things like IT support or something like that, and hitting people up in their organizations, and people are just assuming because it rolled in one of these platforms that it's legitimate, right? Like
Yeah.
they're just assuming that, and then following whatever they say. Like, here, do this, click that, install this thing, et cetera, et cetera. But it's one of those social engineering things that so many people don't think about these alternative communication things we have in place, Slack, um, Teams, even Zoom stuff, or
Yeah.
Google, right? Like, and so they just hit them up on that, and for whatever reason, they're assuming it's internal. What do you have you heard of this happening, and what do you think people
Yeah.
should do about that, Javad? Let me ask the tough questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Asking the tough questions, Mr. Colson. Thank you. So this is, I think, it goes down to, don't be so prescriptive in your training that you only teach people how to spot a phishing email when it comes through
Yeah,
an email in a specific format. Rather build the mental resilience or the framework in people to say, like, hey, think about, is this something that normally comes? Is it time related? Is there some sort of authority in there? Are they trying to pressure you to do something? And, look out for those red flags. And that way, it doesn't matter what platform someone targets you on, whether it's through Teams, whether it's through Zoom, whether it's a phone call, an SMS
yeah,
message, whatever it might be. You use the same skills to decode everything. And I think this is where compliance-based driven training falls flat, because it's just about teach people, like, just look for these things, and only look for these things, and then you've passed the test only for, like, if someone emails you saying this, or if the link is not correct, or if the URL seems to miss. And these are all important things to look out for, but that's not the only attack vector, and that's what we really need to pay attention to.
yeah. Oh,
um
yeah,
yeah, large Zoom meetings where they'll DM participants privately. And also, like, recently, it must be around the world, but in the UK especially, we've seen WhatsApp groups, so community groups. So say you have a local football club and there's like 50 or 100 people in there. People have been part of those groups, and then they've been contacting people individually saying, hey, I'm calling from the football club. There's an important announcement, and I need to register you to attend. Do you want to attend? Yes, I do, because I've paid. Okay, there's a code I'm about to send you. Read out the code on WhatsApp for me. They take over the WhatsApp account, and then they start asking people for money and that kind of stuff. So all these things happen, and it doesn't matter what platform they're on. You need to bear in mind those big red flags.
it's interesting because like I give the same kind of advice around AI and its use in scams, right? Like deep fakes,
Mhm.
audio, video, et cetera, et cetera. And most of the time, like people are getting hung up on, oh my gosh, there's AI and deep fakes. Well, in the grand scheme of things, it almost never matters whether it was a voice actor or a deep fake audio, right? Like, it doesn't matter at all. Same thing with the video stuff. If it's somebody that's asking you to do something weird, the AI piece is such a small part of it. Sure, it adds a little bit more realism, but if you can recognize how scams work, kind of like the components behind it, mostly in the call to action, like what are they asking you to do? Are they asking you to do something? Then it really doesn't matter what they use for a lure or whatever before and what
No.
technology they have behind it. I don't know. We're sounding like work shills right now. What's up with that, man? See, you even have the
No,
big
no.
work sign behind you now. You're a company
Yeah, it's
guy.
good.
It's
Yeah. I'm a company guy. But, I feel the same way about attribution. And I think, like,
yeah.
un unless you're Mandiant, or a company like that whose job it is to, or Google now, to actually track down and figure out who the attack groups are. It doesn't matter who's attacking you. Oh, is this a North Korean? Is it China? Is it like Bob down the road? It doesn't matter really. It's like they're trying to attack you, and you need to defend yourself. And
I mean, there are
And I
some
think
things
that's
that you can tie to attribution, such as their motivations. Okay, like North Korea until recently didn't do ransomware. Okay, they were all about like money theft, but through other ways, right? BEC, wire transfer, getting people hired onto organizations, right? China has traditionally been IP focused. So if you know you're being targeted by China, you're going to really want to pull in, make sure your IP is covered,
yeah,
as
yeah.
opposed to some of these other players. Russia is, disinformation, misinformation, espionage, things like that. So there is some value to attribution if you know that's who's targeting you with IoTs and stuff. But they also don't always just follow the same thing. Like we mentioned, North Korea, they didn't used to do ransomware, and now they're playing in that game. Dude, that's
Excellent
twice.
points. Well
That
made.
is twice in this show that I've segued beautifully into a story we have. It's like I was paying attention.
I know, I know. I am so impressed. But you know what? You're now acting like the comedian who tells a joke and then laughs himself because you're so proud of yourself. And sometimes you're meant to just like not laugh yourself and let the audience laugh, or let. So if you can make the segue, don't point out, look at me, I just made the segue. Just let people admire that you made the segue. Okay.
Don't take this
North
away from me.
Korean,
Don't take this away from me, okay?
you're taking it away from yourself, Eric.
Okay. All right.
Okay, go on then. Tell us about this North Korean group collaborates with play ransomware and significant cyber attack. What's that all about?
Yeah, we're starting to see a little bit of this. So as I was mentioning, honestly, like North Korea did not play in the ransomware game very much. They for whatever reason have been sitting at the sidelines, but lately they've actually been getting into it. But the way they're doing it is not necessarily doing it themselves, but they're partnering with other groups. So, like in this case, they partnered with Play, the Play ransomware group.
Mhm.
And what North Korea did is they leveraged their initial network access. So they got network access and then basically handed it off to Play. So this is a skill set that they're good at, is getting network access. But now they're playing together like that. Now it leaves, time will tell if they end up building their own infrastructure and all that stuff behind it, or if they just continue to partner with these other folks. But it's also kind of indicative of how the cybercrime market is working and evolving, to where you have all of these groups that kind of like have their own specialties now and their niches, like getting in and then, okay, cool. I don't want to mess with having to carry a ransomware infrastructure. And a lot of folks used to use ransomware as a service for
Mhm.
that. So they would pay the group or whatever, for the platform. But in this case, they're just like, okay, I'm good. You do this. I don't know what their split is. I haven't seen that yet. But it leaves to be seen if whether or not they're going to actually really get in and then start competing with these other groups in the future.
Yeah. I don't know enough about the economics of, or the economies of how they operate. I don't think there's much benefit in them competing directly with other groups because they're not a cybercrime outfit. They're literally like funding a nation to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's we'll see how it plays out. Let's put it out there. Let's be very non-committal.
Yeah.
It
Well, sadly,
depends.
sadly, the economies here are a huge amount of money. if you
Yeah,
if you look at the way ransomware is generating funds, I mean, what was it? MGM, not MGM, Caesars Entertainment. When they got hit by that group, they paid $15 million ransom. Like, holy crap! There's some big money flying around in ransomware these days. So if you
yeah,
figure the value to that government entity, there's a lot of money at risk here.
for sure, for sure. So let's move on to the last story. We are really dragging. Well, you are really dragging it out today. But so there was a Disney staff member, or what is that? What they call cast member? Do they
Yeah, I
call them
think yeah,
cast?
yeah. Do they call
Yeah.
them cast when
Um,
they're in a technical role?
I have no idea. Anyway, so Michael Shaw, he was where does it? He was a menu production manager. That's how you know you've got a really big company, when you have such specific roles. So he was fired in June for unspecified misconduct, dismissal, and what have you. No idea. Anyway, the real story here is that he still had credentials that worked. So I don't know whether this was his personal credentials or some shared credentials, because there's some third parties involved here. So whatever way it was, it's security 101.
Yeah.
As you're having their dismissal meeting, be revoking all their accounts in the background, and, like, make sure they have nothing, remove sharp objects and firearms from their desk, and all that
And
kind of
do it
stuff.
on a Friday.
Yeah. So it's all with that. But he had access. So back in July, he used his work credentials, which still functioned after his termination, to access the menu creation system that Disney contracted another company to create and change all the fonts in the system to wingding symbols. I know.
So they used Windows.
Yeah. The fonts were renamed to maintain the name of the original font. And when it crashed the system offline for a couple of weeks, and they had to restore it from a backup.
A couple of weeks.
In addition to that, he uses credentials, downloaded menus waiting to be printed. He replaced QR codes to go, make political statements. He also removed allergen information from menus.
Wait, what? What information?
Allergen.
Is that like aluminium? You mean allergen information?
I just know how to read and write words. I don't know how to pronounce them. I don't talk to people anymore.
It's a British thing, I'm sure. Yeah. Allergen information. Keep going.
Yeah. Yes. So, removing the fact that this particular dish contained nuts, saying no, it's safe. All that kind of stuff. Not that Disney has a history of killing people for nuts in their food when they claim it's safe, and then saying you can't take us to court because you signed up to Disney Disney Plus. Are you familiar with that story, Eric?
No, I'm not. I thought you were just making that one up. But
anyway. No. So this happened not too long ago. It's a beautiful segue. I don't think this is related to this, because this one, Disney said that it was caught and stopped before any of those menus got printed. But maybe a month or so ago, someone ate food at a Disney restaurant in their parks. They said they had a nut allergy, so they told it's no nuts, and there was nuts in there, and they died from it. Now, the partner of the person wanted to sue Disney, but because they were Disney Plus subscribers, there's something in the terms and conditions that says that you agree to not take Disney to court for something, so you can only settle out of court.
Oh, the arbitration statements. Yeah.
Yes, that's the one.
Oh.
So the moral of the story is, if you go after the mouse, you best not miss. That I think is.
So a couple things on this one that I want to point out. First of all, that was a menu production manager. Oh yeah, there we go. Leaving us with an attack he loves.
Oh wow.
ATSM, unless for hardware refresh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's a great way to get info. So anyways, so back to this menu production manager. I'll bet he made more than $54,000 a year. First of all, more than a lead cybersecurity person in your government can make. But second of all, this really does kind of bring into light the importance of shutting down access when somebody leaves. And unfortunately, sadly, many years ago, after 9/11 happened here, I worked for a manufacturing place that, manufacturing just ceased. And they worked as long as they could to keep employees on, but eventually there was just no work. We had to let about half the workforce go. And of course, that was on a Friday because people are more likely to calm down over the weekend and not come back all enraged. But it was a heck of a thing to be just firing off as quickly as we could, shutting down people's, access to things, because you don't want them even to have a few minutes to go back to their computer and do something. Now, I'll say this: when I worked for ISC Squared and they eliminated my position while I was in it, still love that one. They actually let me go back to my computer, log in, and like do some stuff there. Now, HR was standing on the other side of the screen, but I could have actually been pretty bad with what I did. But I was a nice guy. I was decent. And I actually tried to clean up on my way out. Although like 2 years later, a year later, they reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, so your old iPhone is still attached to your iCloud. Can you can you undo that?" I was like, seriously?
Wow.
But anyway,
Wow.
yeah. that needs to be a part of your offboarding too, is making sure that anything that's connected to cloud services like that are removed. But unfortunately, a lot of folks, they don't think about that until it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
That's what happens. It's like there's so many. Sorry.
oh, I did actually remove it from my iCloud because I'm a nice guy, and the guy that
Oh,
reached
you
out,
did. Very
a
nice.
friend, yeah.
After you downloaded all the files and everything. But
Anyway,
no, this happens so much, and I think with shadow IT and everything, it just becomes even more difficult. You just don't know what's tied to what. Therefore, it's better to lock everything down from the beginning. Start as you intend to continue. Give everyone Chromebooks, and you'll be a far better place. In a far better place.
absolutely. Now you popped up a story there somewhere. Looked like you wanted to talk about, yeah.
Yes, this
Oh,
no, this is just the one I was referring to. They use the streaming terms to block the restaurant allergy death lawsuit.
how see, I don't understand how things like a streaming contract would apply to park admission. Like that just seems, it just seems to me like a decent lawyer would be able to tear that one apart.
Yeah, I have no idea. So, because the terms and conditions he agreed to when signing up for Disney Plus streaming service several years earlier. Um,
Wow. I mean, that's very unfortunate. Not too long ago, where was I? I was in Cleveland, and I went to the Mexican food restaurant. I'm allergic to corn and told them. And so they were like, yeah, there's no corn in this. And then they feed me the rice with corn in it, which I didn't realize till after eating a little bit. And I was like, guys, what? Oh, here, we'll get you some other rice here. Like that was their whole thing. I'm like,
oh,
y'all don't
that
realize.
corn. Oh, you mean that corn, right? We
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
this was that
yeah,
leather
yeah.
corn.
I'm like, guys, so now I get to sit here for a while and see if I have a reaction or not, or how bad it's going to be.
Oh,
It's
wow.
something I found when I was in Europe. You guys were really, really good at asking about allergens. Like every time I ate somewhere,
Yeah.
they were really, really good. Yeah, maybe that's true, Perry. Maybe that's true.
Yep. That's right.
Arbitration doesn't
Um,
mean they lost. It just means that it doesn't go to court and everything doesn't get public. So,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
but yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So
So no,
y'all were
we are
very
very
good
mindful
about it.
of that. There's like, there's like 50 different like options there, whether you're like religious food or whether you're like allergic to something or another, or whether it's just the latest fad off the month that I'm doing a keto diet, so can you give me some keto meat?
Yeah. And here the food is so bad in the US, they're just like, you're going to die in a day or two anyways. So it really doesn't
Well,
matter. We don't care long term.
yeah,
Right.
well, been hoping for that for a long time, but anyway. uh what, who said that? Huh? Is this some
Oh,
interference?
that's
Oh,
terrible. You know, you haven't cut me off yet. And that's kind of letting me, I'm like, anytime now, you'll cut me off. But no, you're making this weird and awkward.
I know. It's just like going on for that really weird long time that no one really knows what's happening.